Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today, we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from This Just My Opinion. Petty had never tasted so good. Let's jump right in. So this time last year, I was working at an agency and I had been working for my highly demanding client for over 1.5 years by then. I had already spent a whole pre-COVID year traveling several times a month while still working 60+ hour weeks. When the world shut down, I thought my workload would be a lot easier because our overall team's workload was halted for a few months, and I wouldn't need to travel for or plan events. I was very naive. Instead of scaling back our work when everyone else stopped working, our client wanted my team to ramp up our work by planning for the post-pomegranate world. This wouldn't have been as big of a deal if it wasn't for the fact that we all knew this was busy work and that none of our plans were ever going to be brought to fruition. So we had spent all of the summer wasting our time, instead of taking a much needed break, using the time for continued education, or reorganizing our team structure, which we had asked for months, but we never had time for it. All this to say that by the time we had a very big launch, all of my team was already burnt out and feeling completely demoralized. Come launch time last year, our workload became exponentially harder than it had ever been, because we know how to find alternatives to everything we had ever done before since we were working in a virtual world. Also, around that time, my already incompetent leads had decided to really not try and give all of their work to myself and my teammates because we had less work to do since we weren't traveling anymore. My work had gone from 60+ hour weeks in the summer to 80+ hour weeks. It got to the point where we would have to sit on 8-hour calls with the client every Friday to do the work that my bosses didn't want to. I even had to still attend calls while my dad was in the hospital. Since this was quickly spiraling out of control, I constantly pushed back because I was getting to the point where I didn't have enough hours in the day to do everything that was asked for all of me. One of my managers eventually called me one evening and basically spent 30 minutes calling me unprofessional, cursing me out, and saying that I was lucky to have the job I did. He also stated, "I don't even know what you're working on, so you can't say no when I give you new work." I explained to him that he was CC'd on every project request sent to me. We had meetings twice a week to talk about our workload, and I was doing his work on top of that. But he said that doesn't explain why I was working as much as I was, and that it wasn't his job to track my hours. He said that if I wanted to be able to complain about my workload, then it was my responsibility to make sure he knew exactly what I was working on and for how long I was working on it. Obviously, this triggered my pettiness, so I decided to give him exactly what he asked for, and then some. So I started tracking my work down to the minute, but I didn't stop there. I also tracked who my requests were coming from. All of them were direct orders from either my bosses or my client, time wasted on unnecessary calls, delays due to incompetent information from my bosses, and marked which work was done because my bosses didn't want to do the work. After a few weeks, I had a breakdown of every single minute of my very long workdays, which clearly showed that my long days were because of my leader's incompetence. I sat on this file until my manager decided to yell at me again a month later, spouting the same, "I don't even know what you're working on for so long, so you must be doing things you're not supposed to." Mind you, I was salaried, so I was not going to waste my own time by doing crap I didn't have to do. So I told him that I had been tracking my time, and if he wanted to see it, I could send it to him. He smugly told me I would love to see it, probably expecting to be proven right. I told him I'd send it, and he said he would schedule a call with me after reviewing it so we can talk through my inefficiencies. So after the call, I sent him the file and never heard back from him about the file. I did eventually ask him if he wanted to set up a call to review the file, and he said there was no need. My workload never got easier, but at least I no longer had to put up with his late evening calls, cursing me out. I did end up quitting early this year, and then over the next 3 months, my whole team quit one by one. So I definitely got the last laugh by getting paid more to do less work, and making my bosses scramble to replace a team of 7 who they then had to train, while not knowing how to do any of the work. I want to read a couple of the comments down below this one because there was a phrase here that I'm absolutely going to add to my repertoire. First comment comes from Varnigma. I've been a salaried IT professional for over 20 years. In return for a paycheck, I give my employers 40 hours a week, period. Sure, I'll help out on occasion in an emergency, as long as it's not expected of me and doesn't become the norm. OP replied to that one, it says, that's my mentality now that I work in-house. I sit down and act my wage. Now, I've never heard that one before, act my wage, and I absolutely love it. It's something that anybody who's on a salary needs to learn and needs to use when they're sitting in a meeting with their bosses. Why did I only put in 40 hours this week? It's because I was acting my wage. If you want me to work more, pay up. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from Master Maniac. Is mayonnaise a gift? Let's jump right in. Double malicious compliance time here. This happened a few days ago. So my manager is something of a goofball. He's exactly the kind of weirdo that I like to work under, and is always joking about something, even when he's in a bad mood. Luckily, he's also willing to take care of business at work when necessary, and is exactly what my workplace needed. We have a group chat app specifically for our workplace, where every employee of our store and every supervisor above us, up to the franchise owners, can see. On a weekly basis, my manager posts our week schedule to the group chat so that everyone has access. And those who don't use the app or have a smartphone use the paper copy that's posted in store. Right on time, my manager posts the schedule and a bit of text, joking about being a benevolent overlord and that he demands gifts in exchange for this week's schedule to be deposited in a box in the manager's office at the beginning of your next shift. Of course, we all knew he was joking, but I had to ask what everyone was thinking. Is mayonnaise a gift? He responded with, put it in the box, OP. I bet. See, my manager knows me well enough to understand that I enjoy shenanigans. However, he didn't expect me to actually bring him mayonnaise as a gift first thing in the morning. After a long discussion in the group chat about possible delivery methods for the mayo in question, with suggestions such as coating the bottom of a Lego brick and then freezing it out of spite, and mayonnaise cake, except instead of cake with mayo in the batter, it's a loaf of bread with an inch-thick layer of mayo, I decided on my plan. Before work, I stopped by the good old Golden Arches. I grab breakfast from there fairly often, so I figured that was my best option. I pulled up to the window to pay for my order and asked the poor lady for a strange favor. And the way she looked at me when I asked if I could pay them to fill a small drink cup with mayo was priceless. And I was a bit defeated when she offered me packets. I considered momentarily asking for it in an ice cream cone, but I decided to take what I could get before she called the police. I arrive at the store and immediately approach my manager and try to hand him dozens of packets of McDonald's brand light mayo. He tells me to take it to the office and put it in the box, which I do. We have a laugh and get on with our day. Well, toward the end of my shift, it's time for a secondary malicious compliance. He's at the front behind the counter, and the store is completely devoid of customers. He loudly yells that he needs me to feed him a packet of that mayo, because he's got his hands full and can't do it himself. I bet. I walk my happy butt to that manager's office, snag a pack of mayo, and rip the corner right off that mother effer. I can hear him at the front, laughing and being a goofball, having already forgotten what he had ordered me to do, and his eyes got real big when he saw me approaching with that mayo. I told him, open up. To his credit, he did, and I poured that entire packet of McDonald's brand light mayo directly into his mouth. And for our coworkers that weren't present, I posted in group chat, I can finally say that I fed my manager a pouch of mayo like the world's most terrifying baby bird. Got a few laughs, felt nice. On to the fallout. Nothing super terrible, thankfully, but my manager had a meeting with the franchise owners the next day. Had been planned for long before the mayo conversation took place. He returned from that meeting and pulled me aside and said that the owners had asked him to talk to me about being professional in our group chat, and that my comment about feeding him mayo like a baby bird was inappropriate, and that it probably shouldn't happen in store again. He wasn't being seriously reprimanded, as they were laughing too, but dang, it was great to hear that even the owners were getting in on the fun. I wish everybody had a chance to have a manager like this at one point in their working lives, because when you have one like this, it makes you realize just how bad all the other ones are. Also needed to add in that I don't really consider this one malicious compliance. It was compliant, sure, but I didn't really see anything malicious about it, because there was no intent to harm. Let me know what you guys think though in the comment section down below. Our next story today comes to us from Ramen and Kalashnikovs. Okay, I will add spicy non-vegan sauce to your vegan burrito. Let's jump right in. Hi guys, first time posting here, English not first language, though I think I do alright in it, but apologies for any mistakes. This happened today, not to me personally, but to another customer that was the next in line at the food place I was at. To set the scene, this place is much like the famous Tex-Mex food joint in the US that serves burritos, burrito bowls, etc. You know the place. There are ready-made options, which come with a set configuration of food items, and there is also the option to build one yourself. All the options are written down on 3 big banners on top of where the employees make the food, as standard. I ordered my food, and I'm waiting for the next employee down the assembly line to finish my burrito with the condiments. An older woman who is carrying herself with that "I am better than you" attitude, and who definitely looks like someone who does not enjoy fast food often, and looks down on those who do, orders a vegan burrito, one of the preset choices. The employee has to ask still the type of tortilla, white or whole grain, and the type of rice, white or black. The woman is being very lazy with her response, looking down at her phone, and taking her sweet time with it. The first employee makes the burrito base and passes it to the girl down the line, for whom I am waiting to finish my burrito, and who is also going to finish the woman's burrito. The woman asked if she could have any sauce with the burrito. The employee then explains that they do not put any sauce in the vegan burrito because the sauces are not vegan. She says that they do put in salsa verde, which is technically a sauce, but counts as a topping in this store, not a sauce. The woman does not reply, looks up quickly, and asks for the red chipotle sauce, as there are pictures in the banner corresponding the sauces. At this point, there are 2 sauces with very similar names: Explosive Chipotle and Creamy Chipotle, one being significantly more spicy than the other one. The creamy sauce is orange in the photo and the explosive red. Neither sauce is vegan as the base is mayo. The employee is now trying to tell the woman 2 things: that the sauce she is asking for isn't vegan, in case the woman is, since she ordered a vegan burrito, and that the red sauce is very spicy. Now, maybe this woman knows what she's doing, and she just likes the vegan burrito and can handle her spice. However, from my point of view, that was not the case. The employee says again, "Ma'am, this sauce isn't vegan and it's very spiced," only to be cut off by the woman, who's saying with a very pushy tone, "Can I please just get the sauce?" I think the woman understood that the employee was not allowed to put extra sauce in the preset burrito options. You only get what's in the description. It was probably a long day for the employee, and she just stood there for a brief moment with a clear face of FML and asked, "Are you sure?" The woman promptly and annoyingly said, "Yes, I am sure." Cue malicious compliance. The employee added the salsa verde, which is already a bit spicy, and then grabbed the squeezy thing where the explosive chipotle sauce was, and gave that woman a very generous amount, zigzagging the entire burrito. She then looked up and said with a smile, "Is that going to be warm or cold?" She then rang us both and the lady left. I wish to God I could have seen her face eating the burrito, but then again, maybe she loved it. We'll never know. Our next story today comes to us from Hero911. Chemist Malicious Compliance. Let's jump right in. So this was my first job after university. I got my bachelor's degree in chemistry and was lucky to find a position in my field right off the start. The pay was substandard, but it was required to put something on my resume. Since I was a new graduate, they thought that I was not going to be any real help to them. They said that I will just be doing some analytical work, and if I had time for it, there was some research and development on a new compound they were working on. It was a very strong biocide, but the papers done on it only yielded around 25% efficiency, which made it not feasible to be used on a large scale. I was the only chemist who worked in the lab, and the company was very top-heavy, lots of managers. Once I had the analytical synthesis work they wanted me to do worked out, I wanted to work on the R&D project to be able to put something significant on my resume. I read all the public research papers on the compound and worked pretty hard testing out different methods to increase the yields. I had tried everything from combining the different known methods of making the compound to adjusting the quantity of chemicals with no significant improvement. After about 6 months, I had the poof moment and instead changed the rate of addition of one of the compounds, and after some work, got the yields up to above 95% using a method which could be done in large scale. The company was ecstatic, made a press release about the new product, and started looking at FDA approvals, etc. We also needed to patent the new method. The company decided to hire a PhD chemist who would give the patent and FDA approvals more merit, as I only had a BSc, which is honestly seen as very incredible in the science world. I didn't mind. After a while, this person became my manager. I had really liked the manager I had before and was hoping that this person would be good to work with too. With her experience in X-ray diffraction, I was also hoping to get to know more about that as well. The thing is that I had worked on this compound for so long that I had read a ton of literature around it. In addition to that, I had done a ton of experiments from start to finish, from procedure to write-up, and had a solid grasp of what I was doing. The first meeting was about the direction we wanted to move forward and had the CEO and all the managers in on it. The CEO had asked the PhD chemist a question on what would be a good direction to move forward. She responded with an opinion which lacked information from a few papers I had read. In a very polite way, I had said, in this paper and this paper, they discussed this and said that it would not be possible to do, then suggested what I would do to go forward. The CEO liked my plan. I was not trying to whip my pecker out, but did not want to waste months doing research which would not get us going forward. After writing that, I was going to say it was a big mistake, but I'm now thinking it is more appropriate to say it was a significant learning experience for testing the water to see if someone can't handle being wrong. After this, I got to see a whole new side of her. Any tiny thing she thought I did wrong would go into this notebook. It came time for my performance review. Most people who worked in the lab had roughly half a page of items which needed to be discussed. I had 8 full pages. It was a joke. I recall this one adventure where we ran out of DI water, so we had to get water from the university. When I got into her car, the tape cassette started playing. You must listen to your husband, as listening to them will make them feel like you care. She was embarrassed, but I felt so incredibly bad for the person who she married after seeing how she handles relationships. Anyway, on to the defiance. With my knowledge about the compound, she still wanted me to write the procedures and carry them out. I would briefly discuss what we wanted to achieve, and most of the time she agreed. The thing about science is that you don't know if things will work. I guess if we did, we wouldn't have to do experiments. So this experiment has completely unexpected results about halfway through it, and I changed the procedure to try to get the best information we can out of the time we put into it. The next day, I show the report to the PhD and she gets pissed. She says, "You did not follow the procedure which I approved. You are being insubordinate and I am going to report you." Her next steps were to the CEO, to which I am asked to go have a chat about 30 minutes later. He says that I have to follow her directions no matter what. I am like, alright, this won't happen again, and just bided my time for the exact same thing to happen. A few weeks later, we purchased a bunch of equipment to make a very large-scale synthesis of this chemical. The ingredients were about $2,000 alone. I wrote the synthesis according to our previous experiments and she signed off on it. The synthesis would take 12 hours, so I was there for a pretty long day. Needless to say, something didn't go as planned about halfway through, something which would have been easily correctable. I was like, nope, I'm going to follow the procedure no matter what. And absolutely nothing made sense for what I was doing. I was just throwing chemicals randomly at this point with no rhyme or reason. Surely enough, the next day rolls around and she asks how it went. I responded, well, I'm happy to say that I followed the procedure to a T. She says, great, where's the product? To which I pointed at this black blob of a mess. The product is red crystalline. She goes ballistic. Her face goes red and she yells, why didn't you just correct the procedure? I responded, you remember the chat I had with the CEO? I am just going to follow the procedure from now on. She blew up. It was wonderful. I just sat there with the smuggest look on my face. So at this point, I was looking for another job, as there was no room to move up and the pay was garbage. I found a great job which paid 3 times what I was making there and was happy to quit. Yes, let's put somebody with a higher degree but absolutely no understanding of what's going on into a management position, making decisions over those people who actually know what they're doing. Smart move. The synthesis... Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.